Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Make yourself comfortable and prepare for some interesting stories. One of them is a story about a OP's mother who disowned OP, and they didn't see each other for 19 years. And now OP received the most ridiculous email from her. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I haven't seen my mother since I was 16 and we were in court. So 19 years I haven't had any contact with the mother. She hired a PI to find me, and I still refused to talk to her. I even had my lawyer send her a formal letter of no contact and threaten her with a restraining order. She sent this email to me through my work email. I shorten it, but basically it said, "To me. This is your mother. I thought you would have matured by now and come and apologize to me and your father for what you put us through. Because of you, your father lost his teaching career, and we had to sell our house. However, it has come to my knowledge that you own some properties in my area. So, it's only right if you give us one of them as an apology. One of my most expensive properties would be a good fit for us. As soon as you hand over the keys to the property, we can finally be able to start to heal and get past this misunderstanding that you blow out of proportion. I hope you come to the right decision, Mother." I just can't stop laughing at this. Like, no way. I'm not giving you anything. This is just another bit of evidence to help me get a restraining order against her. You had better make sure to undergo regular checks of your properties. If she's at the point that she's demanding one of them, she could also be at the point where she will break into one and attempt to assert herself as a squatter. The scene is a Southwest airline flight. I was sitting in a window seat next to two lovely women, and directly horizontal from us was an empty seat, a mom, and her son. The flight was taking off. For those that don't know, you are required to stay seated and keep your seatbelts on for the beginning of the flight until the captain says otherwise. I was strapped in my seat and decided to take out my Nintendo Switch from my carry-on beneath my feet. "Excuse me, ma'am?" I didn't realize at first that the mother in the seats horizontal from me was trying to get my attention. She unbuckled her belt and moved to the empty seat by the aisle, closer to me. "Ma'am, with a video game?" I lifted my head, but the stranger next to me nudged me as well. "That lady wants to get your attention," the woman next to me muttered. I turned my head to see this woman leaning across the aisle with her hands on the armrest of the aisle seat in my row. "Sorry," she began. "I just wanted to know if there is any way that my son could use that game for a little while." "I'm so sorry," I began. "My Nintendo Switch is really important to me. I don't feel comfortable giving it to anyone I don't know. I don't even let my sisters play with it." I was going to continue, but the woman cut me off. "Oh, my son's not like most kids," she replied. "He's not destructive. His cousin has one of those and he knows how to play." She smiled and set her hand out. The two women seated next to me looked at me as if they were also in disbelief. "I'm sorry," I said again. "I just don't feel comfortable. I brought it for me." "How old are you?" the woman said with a huff, retracting her hand and slapping it on her lap. "I'm 25, but I don't see how that matters," I replied, growing exceptionally uncomfortable. "Well," she began, clearly sounding agitated, "my son is 8. This is an hour and 45-minute flight, and he just wants something to do. He can't see it for a few minutes." "No, I am not comfortable with that. I'm sorry, but I'm expecting you to understand since this is my property." I put my head down, and I unpaused my game, as to ignore anything she had further to say. "Are you serious?" She seemed genuinely livid. "Well, sorry, buddy. Not everyone knows how to share," the woman said to the kid next to her. Her child started whining and kicking the seat in front of him. "Thanks for this," she said to me. A sweet kid just wants to share with you and you're being ignorant about it. Before I even opened my mouth, one of the ladies in my row snapped back at her. How dare you bring that energy on this plane? She told you so kindly that she doesn't feel comfortable with passing her electronics to a stranger. The mother wasn't having it. She's an adult and can't share with a child for a few minutes of a nearly 2-hour flight? You should have brought something for him to do then, the woman in my row responded. It shut her up good. At the end of the flight, the woman collected her luggage from the overhead bins and said, I hope you're happy going against God's word, not sharing with a child. Some of the people around us giggled. I'm sure that they all overheard the drama at the beginning of the flight. I've come across some entitled people in my life, but this strange lady took the cake. I probably would have been put on the no-fly list if this lady did this to me. Good for you for remaining calm. My child isn't distractive. As he throws a huge temper tantrum and kicks a seat in front of him. I can't with these types of parents. My husband and I are finally expecting our rainbow baby after years of infertility and multiple miscarriages. It's safe to say we and our family are very freaking excited. My mother is probably the most excited. She's been planning our baby shower and making decorations for months. She's been the biggest help during this exciting yet scary pregnancy. A few weeks ago, my aunt told my mother and I that my cousin is pregnant. We are very happy for her. However, my aunt said their plan is to announce her pregnancy at my baby shower, since we are having a big party anyways. She said it's not a big deal and we both can share the day. I said absolutely not, because we have been waiting for this day forever, and it should be all about me and my rainbow baby. My mother is on my side and told my aunt that they better not announce anything at the party. My aunt dropped it, and nothing else was ever said. Last Saturday was my baby shower, and it was everything I've waited for. Everything is going good. No one has announced my cousin's pregnancy. When it was time for us to eat my cake, my aunt said, hold on everyone, and went outside to her car to grab something. That was the moment I knew something was up. My mother and I follow her outside, and my aunt decided to bring a cake announcing my cousin's pregnancy, and some presents for my cousin. My mother immediately told my aunt that she will not be bringing those back into the rec center, and they will not be ruining my day. My aunt started throwing a fit, screaming, "This is a baby shower. It's for babies. Cousin is having a baby too, so this day is about her too." My cousin now joins the screaming and says how ticked off she is that everything is always about me. And why do we always have to be happy for me? They would not stop screaming, so they were kicked out by the rec center security. And half our family was upset I wouldn't let her have a moment at my shower, so they left too. Now everyone is bashing my mother, myself, and Rainbow Baby on Facebook, group family texts, anything at all. Update. First off, my beautiful baby girl came into the world 3 weeks early on June 15th. We've been so excited and enjoying every minute of her. She's doing amazing and has already grown so much. Now the update on my cousin and aunt. On June 16th, the day after my baby girl was born, my cousin texted our family group chat and said she had a miscarriage. I was so sad for her, and despite still being upset with her, I told her if she needed anything to call me and I would be there for her. I spent hours crying for her, with her, talking through everything, her feelings, my feelings. I was able to cope with my multiple miscarriages. She came over a lot, holding on to my baby, crying. I saw a change in her. She seemed so sincere. My cousin lied. She was never pregnant. Apparently, a few days after her miscarriage, my cousin told her mother, my aunt, that she was loving all the attention she's getting, and that she had lied about ever being pregnant. She said she can't wait to magically get pregnant with her rainbow baby soon and get even more attention. A few days ago, my aunt made the comment to my grandma about it, and Grandma was very upset. My aunt said not to tell anyone, especially me, since I'd be so dramatic about it. She said it wasn't a big deal, and everyone needed their time to shine, aka my cousin's future rainbow baby. Of course my grandma told everyone, and I am so heartbroken. Now, I really don't know if my aunt did or did not know she lied to begin with. My aunt doesn't even care that she lied, and her behavior afterwards was so disgusting. So I'm leaning more towards she knew all along and was in on it. However, we have all, not 100% sure about Grandma, cut ties with my aunt and cousin. I cannot believe someone would stoop so low as to lie about being pregnant, then miscarrying, then having a rainbow baby, all for attention. Congratulations on your daughter. Oh my goodness, there is definitely something wrong with both your cousin and your aunt. And yes, cut them out completely. People willing to do that are potentially dangerous, and you don't want them around you or your daughter. This happened in 2015 when I was 16 and about to move out on my own. Prior to this, I had a savings account my parents had helped me set up, and I'd been putting money into it any way I could for 3 years. Birthday money, odd jobs, part-time after-school job washing dishes, all that stuff. And I'd managed to get a few thousand into it. I'd really been wanting to move out because I have 2 little brothers that absolutely drive me up the wall. My parents loved making me the live-in babysitter whenever I wasn't working, which is why I used the excuse to work as much as I could. When the time came that I wanted to move out, my parents said they wanted me to stay because they needed my help, and were wanting me to start paying them rent to help with the bills. But I held my ground that I wanted to live on my own. I'd already paid the deposit and the first month's rent on an apartment without telling them, and by that point, I had a local full-time job, so I was set to move out after about another month. So when they found that out, they freaked and told me to get out that day if I wanted to be on my own so bad. I packed what I could and left to go to my aunt and uncle's house. It was a 4-mile ride with a bicycle that I had a small trailer hooked to. When I told my aunt and uncle what happened, they were very angry and took me in right away. A couple days later, I went to withdraw all the money from my account and saw that it was empty. My parents had come in the day prior and cleaned it out. All the bank could do was give me a balance statement saying so. Because my parents were co-signers on the account, that meant they had access to the money too. I was livid and immediately told my aunt and uncle as soon as I could. They were beyond angry too. Then my aunt got an idea and started calling up other people in the family to tell them what my parents had done. It wasn't long before the crap hit the fan. My other aunts and uncles, cousins, and grandparents were all furious and let my parents have it. I don't know what kind of excuses my parents gave them, but it didn't work. The next time I saw my parents, they'd showed up at my aunt and uncle's house to yell at me. When they saw me, my mother threw some money at me and called me an ungrateful brat for telling everyone. My aunt then said it was her who told everyone, not me. I looked at the money they'd thrown, and it was just some kid play money my little brothers had. I asked where their real money was, and my parents said they'd already used it to pay off a credit card. I said I wanted the money they stole back for real, but they refused and said it was their right to take it since they'd opened the account for me and I still have a job. My expenses at the moment were fine because my next paycheck was deposited in a new account, and I was able to save until the apartment was ready. But my parents took a lot of heat from my aunt and uncle until they left. My cousin also used to babysit for my parents when I was busy, and she not only refused to do so again after what they did, but told me she put out the word to other teen babysitters on social media to avoid my parents because they were thieves. By the time I was living in my apartment, my parents finally couldn't take the social stigma anymore and met me to compromise. They said they couldn't pay me back all at once and asked for a payment plan. I had the exact number of the amount they'd stolen, and I said I wanted it all back. They actually tried to haggle me down to half the total, but I refused to anything but the full amount. They reluctantly agreed and gave me $200 a month in cash for 2 years before it was all paid back. Now I barely ever see my parents, let alone speak to them. And they clearly still blame me for what happened too, because their reputations in the family never recovered. But I don't care. They were thieves that paid the piper. I was so worried this would go the same way as so many other thefts. Family sides with the parents, wants to sweep it under the rug, no restitution at all. So glad the rest of the family turned up the pressure, and extra kudos to your cousin for that double whammy. Deprive the EPs of childcare and steer peers away from shady clients. So I and my girlfriend are planning a trip to Disneyland Paris. Not for any time soon with the pandemic, but still planning. It's not as big as, say, Florida, but it's closer to us. It's also both our first time going. And as my girlfriend is obsessed with Disney, it's where I'm planning to propose to her to make it more special. My sister knows I'm proposing, as she helped me pick out the ring, and she was very supportive until she found out where I was planning to propose. She doesn't approve of it as we're not kids, and has stated as we're not children, it's weird, and how if I wanted to go there, I should take her kids, who are 10 and 6. I love my niece and nephew, but this is a special trip for me and my girlfriend. I explained this to my sister, and I thought she understood. But next time I was over seeing her kids, they were upset, as she had told them about the Disneyland trip, and they couldn't understand why I wouldn't take them. I tried to console them, but I felt very put on the spot and upset by this. I ended up leaving not long after, and my sister keeps badgering me to take the kids now as they're very upset. The worst part is, my girlfriend is starting to feel guilty and wondering if we should just take the kids with us. Tell your sister she's the one who upset the kids, but telling them about your trip with expectations that they are going with. It's supposed to be a romantic trip for you and your GF, not a free vacation for her and her kids. She gets a free babysitter if you take them. You don't get squat, except for a buttload more responsibilities in this situation. You don't even really get to have a romantic dinner with her if that's the case. How does she not see this? The location of your trip is irrelevant, and your sister's feelings are equally irrelevant. You are taking your GF on a trip to propose to her, not to babysit her kids. End of story. If she chooses to get upset, that's on her. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing. And if you missed the last episode on this channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about an entitled mother who sends her kids into my garden, repeatedly, even after being told not to, and then calls the police on me. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.